Hi everyone. Thanks to the organizers for giving the opportunity to present our work at this platform. Today I'm going to talk about our work entitled Prevention, Management and Control of Leptospirosis in India, an Evidence Gap Map. Leptospirosis outbreaks have been on the rise in India in recent past. The Indian Council of Medical Research, which is an apex biomedical research institute, identified the need to inform future decisions on leptospirosis research through a systematic appraisal of existing evidence, as the disease epidemiology has not been very well understood so far, and also the current evidence is largely driven by individual investigators. Therefore, the objective of our study was to develop evidence gap maps for mapping all available evidence on leptospirosis to inform deliberations on future research priorities and to facilitate optimal utilization of funds. This particular EGM presents one of the four maps developed as part of the larger study. So for this, we searched evidence in 6 electronic databases from inception till April 2019, as you can see in the slide. We also hand searched InMed and 2 regional ICMR websites. We developed a framework to map evidence and used Microsoft Excel to extract data, developing the EGM such that interventions are presented in rows and outcomes in columns, as you can see in the figure. With suggestions from the stakeholders and experts, we classified interventions into individual or interpersonal level, community or institutional level, and at the health policy and systems level. We classified outcomes as clinical and public health outcomes and as health system outcomes, as you can see on top of the map. We used bubbles and placed them in relevant cells to depict existing evidence with empty cells demonstrating evidence gaps. Also to clarify here is that since many studies included more than one intervention and looked at more than one outcome, therefore we classified studies under multiple cells as was relevant. So in total, we retrieved 4,282 records through various sources, and 638 articles were assessed for eligibility in all the domains. For this particular map, 27 articles were included as per the inclusion criteria. So quickly coming to the results and the conclusions, we found that 63% of the evidence was derived from only 3 endemic states, that's Gujarat, Maharashtra and Kerala, with limited studies reported from other endemic and non-endemic regions, reflecting a glaring gap, a regional gap, which calls for funding more studies with robust study designs like RCTs, particularly in high endemic states to understand the disease in a better way. We found that 85% of evidence focused on humans, with only 15% of studies focusing on animals, leaving a vast scope for implementing One Health approach to understand the human-animal ecosystem interfaces better to provide a comprehensive evidence base. We also found that predominant human subgroups involved hospitalized patients, general populations, which was followed by agricultural workers, with only 26% of human studies including other high-risk groups such as dairy and animal caretakers, sanitation workers, healthcare workers, and tribal population, which definitely calls for need for multi-sectoral approaches and collaboration between different departments to develop targeted interventions for these high-risk groups. Interventions and outcomes at the community level were found to be least studied, with more evidence available from the individual or the interpersonal level. Related to medical therapies, interpreting research inclination was largely towards studying treatment interventions and outcomes rather on prevention and control aspects at broader levels. There is also a lack of evidence at the systems and policy level, with limited studies mostly reporting different information systems and small components of multiple interventions, with no studies on specific interventions related to governance or financials or any policy interventions to assess outcomes like coverage, quality of care, etc., as you can see in the map. Which also shows limited selection outcome. This is also due to the fact of limited interventions being studied in the first place. This certainly calls for taking more active role by funders and policy planners during the grant review process, for careful review of outcomes to facilitate development of robust evidence which can programmatically be useful, especially at the subnational level. To the best of our knowledge, this is the first study on country level EGM on any disease condition in India so far, And though EGM is a relatively new domain, but embedding their use can definitely play an important role in informing research priorities. That's it from my side.